Next on America Outdoors Radio, we're going to chat with Alan Horntagger Morris. He hails from the Show Me state of Missouri. He's got all sorts of certifications when it comes to managing deer habitat, and he's going to show you how to do the same with his new book, Whitetail Deer Management and the Weekend Hunter, a book that's billed as a real-life approach for whitetail deer management as a small landowner. Alan, welcome to the show.
Well, appreciate it, John.
Well, Alan, this is a really interesting book, especially for me. I live out west, and we have thousands and thousands of acres of public land to roam. As a matter of fact, where I live in Chelan County, Washington, 87% of the county is public land. But in the Midwest and the South and the East, that's not the case, is it?
No, I was astonished when I was out west. Some of them states are 90% public land, and in Missouri, we're only 7% of public land.
So in other words, public land hunting isn't really an option in a state like Missouri, and that's why buying a piece of land and developing it for quality deer habitat like you advocate's really the way to go. I mean, that's the most popular way for a lot of folks to go deer hunting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They'll go hunting with friends and family. The average landowner in Missouri is around 250 acres.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the things in your book, and we'll start off at the very first step, and that's buying a piece of land of your own for deer hunting purposes. Now, if you're a guy like me, the first thing you're looking at is the price tag and trying to figure out if it's a woodsy area that might hold deer, but it's a lot more complicated than that, isn't it?
Yes. Every piece of land has a unique feature, so you're not always going to find the things that I like to look for, but in some cases it's good to have it out there so you know what to look for. You know, saddles. If you're a hunter, saddles on a property and looking at topo maps are great, but in the case of when I bought my property, either the surveyors did it on a Monday or a Friday after a hard weekend or before a good weekend, and they missed actually two 30-foot rides in the property, so I almost didn't buy the property because of the topo, but once I got my boots on the ground, you found that there was multiple saddles on the property.
And what about water sources? I mean, everyone knows that's really important because deer have to have water. You know, does it have to have water on the property or just be close to water?
I always want water on the property, and most times you can build a small watering hole, have that put in, $500, $1,000, depending on how much dozer work costs. But if you have water on the property, that's always a plus. I like to be within a couple miles of a river system. I always feel that the DNA of the deer, because of the soil fertility, is higher, and that you'll get a lot bigger bucks and does in that area. But having a water source on there, yes, that's an oasis, and you always want to have that on there. You know, it's like getting gas. Are you going to pay $1.50, or are you going to pay $1.50 and drive a half a mile away? So it's, you know, if it's the same price, you'll get it where you're close to.
You're absolutely right. So here's another question for you. Are we looking for farmland, or are we looking for timbered land? Because goodness knows you find deer on both.
Right. And one of the things, I listened to a panel discussion, and someone asked the exact same question. Well, if you can afford farmland in this area will be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 an acre. Well, in some of the wooded timber habitat where there is no farm ground, you can buy land for $1,000 an acre. You're going to get a lot more land for a lot less money. Well, I look at it this way. I'd rather be a oasis in a desert than a drop of water in the ocean. So I'd rather have that timber land and make my own habitat.
That makes perfect sense. Last question for you. What's the minimum acreage folks should look at? Because if you look at like websites like landwatch.com or other ones, you'll see lots of 20-acre plots. Is that too small? Should we be looking for bigger plots than that?
But you have to manage your expectations. You know, the more land you have, the more you control the deer herd. But on 40 acres, you may not have a sanctuary, but you have to know what's around you. but you on 40 acres, you can do a lot. I was 40 acres at one time on a piece of property surrounded by 500. We saw 96 deer during bow season, and the landowner around us didn't see hardly any. I had all the food plots. I had all the water sources. I had all the mineral sites. I had the low hunting pressure, believe it or not, compared to the 500 acres, and he wanted me to help manage his property.
Well, Alan, we are unfortunately out of time, but folks, as you just heard, 40 acres should be your starting point, not 20. Next time we have you on, we're going to talk about how to develop your property to attract and retain deer. But folks, if you want to find out before we get him on the air again, buy his book. It's called Whitetail Deer Management and the Weekend Hunter. It's by Alan Horntagger Morris. I know folks can find it at Amazon.com. Where else can they get it?
You can also go to NorthAmericanWildlifeandHabitat.com, and that'll give you the link to Amazon. That'll be a quick way.
All right, 2 websites for you. The book again, Whitetail Deer Management and the Weekend Hunter. The author, Alan Horntagger Morris. As you just heard, he's got a lot of great information for you as a small landowner who wants your very own piece of hunting ground for whitetail deer. Alan, thanks for sharing this with us today.
John, I appreciate you having me on.